self-doubt has been my biggest demon. But on the other hand, I was like, yes, I'm a champion. Like there was this deep inner knowing of I can do this, I'm capable, even if I don't know how. But then the voice of doubt was also loud, and most of the time louder. If I had admitted defeat, then I would still be the girl who's restricting and binging and self-harming and drinking. To me, I'd won before I got up there. So the crown, it meant a lot to me because it felt like I'd made it to a point that I didn't think I could make it to.
Welcome back to the Comp Closet podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Sarah Moore, and today I'm so excited to be chatting to the newest FMG Australia fitness champion, Anna Crichton. Welcome.
Thank you. I've never been introduced as that before, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it must feel pretty unreal. So let's dive into the early days of your journey first. What initially drew you into bodybuilding?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many different things, and I guess for anyone listening who has never heard of me before, I'm pretty honest about my journey, my story, my background, and where I came from. So I did have an eating disorder, which kind of went from anorexia to binge eating disorder. So the early days, I was coming out of my dance ballet career, and I was pretty lost and in a pretty dark place, and was almost searching for something to do, like the next big thing, the next big challenge. But I was still in a really unhealthy place with my relationship with myself and with my body. And so I kind of became very fixated on my body in a way. And then saw bikini models and I was like, oh my goodness, like that's kind of cool. Like maybe that could be the next thing. But I had no idea what I was doing or what I wanted. And it was a pretty dark time. But then I began to just kind of see these women and I was like, wow, I want to be like that. Even though at that time it wasn't really stemming from a very healthy place, but I still thought, wow, that's so cool. Um, so, and then I remember seeing Adria Brazia with her black bikini and black wings, and the creative dancer part of me was like, oh my God, that is like a Victoria's Secret model with muscles. Um, so I thought, oh my goodness, that's cool. And then I eventually started training with my best friend um, after, I guess, my time of being very, very obsessive, not getting into weight training at all. Like I thought muscles were gross. I thought that was the last thing I wanted. Like I did not want to look like that. I was kind of just, I didn't want the body fat at that time. Um, but yeah, and then I saw, the IFBB pros at the Olympia, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is a whole different world. One part of me thought I could never be like that, and the other part of me was just so curious and like amazed by it. And I guess that's kind of where it all began. This like not knowing what I wanted, but just seeing all these different athletes and going, oh my.
Yeah, incredible. That's so crazy to think that you went from not even wanting muscles to chasing that physique that you
Yeah.
obviously need as a fitness competitor. So I'm definitely intrigued to hear more about kind of how you made that shift. So what steps did you take initially when you did want to start bodybuilding, and how did you kind of overcome those challenges from your eating disorder?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Um, well, as I named, I started off in a pretty unhealthy place. I would actually just walk from home to the gym. So that was 4K one way, to go on the treadmill on an incline to just keep walking. So that was just trying to burn calories in such an unhealthy way. That was kind of the original time I stepped into a gym. Then I had two friends at the time who invited me to start lifting, and I thought, no, absolutely not. I don't want to be bulky, classic, classic story. Um, and then I started training with my now best friend because he was into bodybuilding and he wanted to compete. And so the only time I could ever hang out with him was if I went to the gym with him after he went to work. So then I started going with him. And I guess the transition really happened when I started lifting and not just seeing physical changes, but seeing mental changes, like having to push limits or, challenge myself in the gym and seeing, oh my goodness, like I can push a bit more. So it wasn't just the physical changes, because they didn't really happen in any drastic measure initially, because I was still kind of struggling with my relationship with food, but just seeing the changes that were happening and how I was feeling, and then the process of like challenging yourself and seeing what your body could do, that was really a turning point for me. And when my best friend Simon, shout out to Simon, he was like, "You could be really good at this." And I was like, "Huh? What do you mean I could be good at this? Like, I don't even know what this bodybuilding thing is." Um, but when he said that to me, I thought, "Oh, okay, maybe I could." But at that point, it was just the transition. And I guess that was the physical part that kind of got me excited, seeing the strength in my body. Um, and then when it came to the shift with food, a big thing was changing my language around food and also my experience. So we would go out to different restaurants, and that would, obviously I had so many food fears at that point in time, but it created a whole new relationship with food, because I was experiencing it with different people in different environments, and all the different senses. I could have a new experience rather than this false story that food is really bad and it's dangerous and it's something to fear. Creating new experiences with people who cared for me was a really big turning point as well. And obviously it's not an overnight thing. It was very small step, like one fear at a time, and lots of discomfort along the way. But yeah, the two things I think that really helped with the shift was new experiences around food and seeing what my body could do when I stepped into the weights room.
Yeah, incredible. And what's the number one piece of advice that you would give to someone who is at the stage where they really fear food?
Mm, I think get curious. Curiosity is the key, I believe, in like all aspects. That's where I kind of come back to with mindset, with my healing journey, with my body and movement and training, is if we can first get curious, um, rather than trying to initially fix something, we can begin to, take that restricting, like tight pressure within us and just go, oh, okay, like I'm noticing that I'm really afraid of this. Like, I wonder why. Like, what's the story around that? What's the belief that I have around that? Um, and being really gentle with yourself along the way, because I think it's so easy for the inner critic part to beat yourself up, like, oh gosh, why am I so afraid of this food? Or, I shouldn't be like this, other people aren't like this. And so that inner dialogue can be brutal for someone with an eating disorder. um, and yeah, being gentle with yourself along the way, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that advice. And I think that's good advice as well, just for people who might be struggling post show. Like perhaps they've never
Mm,
struggled with their relationship with food or fear of food or, certain food groups or eating out. But then post show, I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with. So that's probably really good advice for anyone
mm,
who's struggling a little bit post show too. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
mm. No, definitely, yeah.
Can you run over how long you've been competing and what shows you've done so far, just for a bit of context?
Yeah. So I didn't start competing until 2022. My first show was April show up on the Gold Coast with the WBFF at the time. And that was my first show, and I did win my pro card, which was very exciting. My second show was the following year, 2023, October. So that was my pro debut. And I was nervous as hell, but also super excited, because I knew I was going up against, some of the best physiques and names in the industry, like my beautiful coach Hattie. So it was this like fear and nerves, because I'm like, oh my gosh, these guys are the best. I'm just a little Anna. But at the same time, the athlete, the competitor in me, the person who always wants to improve, become my best, was like, well, you become the best by learning from the best, going against the best. You don't become the best by putting yourself in a position where you already know you're the best. Like, that's not how you're going to grow. So I was really excited. My second show was, um, yeah, challenging. Each prep is challenging in different ways, but That was my second show. And then third show was this year, um, where I won my crown, which was wild, 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 wild.
Incredible, and in relatively a short space of time as well, which is absolutely insane. Like only your third show to win an Australian crown is just absolutely incredible. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I think about this often, like it seeming like such a short time. And people, I guess, they only see that short period, not, I guess, all of the years prior from when I first started, in 2012, 13 is when like the journey really began. I just didn't get on stage till 2022.
Yeah, absolutely. So how many years were you training then before you competed?
I would have started going to the gym in 2012, 13, and then probably got more into it and serious in 2014. So the vision for me was always to compete. I just didn't tell anyone, because I recognized within myself that there were parts of me that just wanted to be the best, but that was coming from a place of seeking validation. Um, and so, as I named, having those challenges within myself and my body and food, I didn't want it to be a band aid. So, yes, you're never going to feel ready and you do have to take the leap. But I knew within myself that this could either be a gateway to my healing and my growth, or this could be detrimental. And I made the choice to use this path to actually heal and grow, which seems pretty, I guess, counterintuitive in a way. Like, how can you heal relationship with food when you want to be a bodybuilder? Like, how can, you've got to do all these things that to most might seem like they're just going to exacerbate the issue. But I think the lens that and the approach that I took was I'm going to face everything, um, so that I can come out the other side and not just have the body that I want, but feel good about myself and have a better relationship with myself and food. And so that's something that I'm just super, super passionate about, because I always say to my clients, like, you can have the body of your dreams and still feel shit about yourself. So is that really what you want? Or do you want both? Do you want to look, you want to look, whatever that is, and you want to deepen your relationship with self and food and feel good? Because I believed that I could have both. I didn't know how, but I was willing to get curious to find out how. So yeah.
Absolutely. And what strategies do you think helped you to improve that relationship that you had with yourself and obviously use bodybuilding in a positive way rather than a negative way?
Mm, that's a good question. I think, again, coming back to curiosity, I would always get curious and notice like what's showing up. So if I would be afraid to get on the scale, I would flip it and be like, okay, well, I can either avoid this thing and this discomfort, or I can get curious around it because it's a clue. So I see a lot of things as clues. So it's like, okay, that's telling me that there's something within me that's that's not healed. That's, this number is dictating my emotions and how I feel about myself. So there's something linked to my value and my worth with this external thing. It's actually just reflecting something intrinsically. Um, and the same with food. So I would keep stepping into fear. One of my mantras, but you got to do it gently, because your nervous system, you can't force yourself to just sometimes dive all the way in, because then it's going to cause too much activation in the system. So the strategy I use is literally going against what feels natural and not avoiding the fears, because I'm like, if I can get on the scale and overcome it, then it won't have control over me. If I can feel comfortable in my skin no matter what size and wear the booty shorts, like, then I win. So it became this kind of quest of conquering fears, one at a time. I would notice, okay, am I afraid of this? Why am I afraid of this? A good example is a lot of women are afraid of carbs. I wasn't afraid to eat um, what wasn't I afraid to eat? Something I was afraid to eat lollies and things like that. But then I wasn't afraid to eat a different form of carb. So educating myself is definitely a strategy. But then going, hang on a minute, okay, I'm not afraid of the banana, but I'm afraid of the lollies. Like, yes, there are different makeup of carbohydrate, but learning about that. But then the fear was I was afraid of carbs. Well, no, I could eat 100 grams of carbs from a banana or 100 grams of carbs from a lolly. Like, what's the difference? What am I actually afraid of? So education, I think, is a big strategy. Learning and then taking those small steps to step by step, bit by bit, layer by layer, kind of facing those fears. Because I think a lot of these issues come from a need for control, but it's all an illusion because you're not in control at all. All these things are controlling you.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I
yeah.
love that so much. And I think that's such a high level of self awareness that it sounds like you've developed through this journey. And bodybuilding's obviously helped you in that positive way, which is really incredible to hear. So, yeah, absolutely love those tips. Thank you for sharing. Did you have any kind of self doubt when you first started competing or first decided that you wanted to compete? Like, did you think that you were capable of winning?
Oh, this question is like, how do I answer it? Because it's literally two polar opposites coexisting, which I find quite a lot of the time, and that can be really hard for our mind to understand. Like, I was riddled with self doubt. Self doubt has been my biggest demon, like 100%, lack of self belief and my self doubt. And there are just layers to that. But on the other hand, I was like, yes, I can, I'm a champion. Like, there was this deep inner knowing of, I can do this, I'm capable, even if I don't know how. But then the voice of doubt was also loud and most of the time louder. So yeah, there was this, I can't do this. How can I ever look like that? How do I do this? And also, I can do this. I know I can do that. I can be that. I can look like that. So it was kind of like this push and pull tug of war um, in day by day, getting curious, knowing where the choices I was making were coming from, and then keep stepping toward the thing I want because the doubts need to be drowned out, but they're only going to be drowned out if we keep taking steps against the doubt. you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So taking action, you would say, is the biggest thing.
Definitely. Taking action to disprove the doubts.
And what's the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome in this whole journey?
This whole journey. Woof. I mean, there has been a lot of things, but I definitely think the doubt, the self doubt, the lack of self belief and lack of self trust um, has been the biggest thing, and it's still a daily practice for me because there's always layers to things. But I definitely believe that those insecurities and doubts within myself have been the biggest thing that I've had to continually work to overcome. Because if I'd admitted defeat, then I would still be the girl who's restricting and binging and self-harming and drinking, and like I still drink all the time, but in such a destructive manner. I would have listened to those doubts that believed I was that way forever. And I didn't want to believe that. So even though those voices were so bloody loud, I had to go, no, I refuse to believe that, even though that was really the fundamental truth that I believed. But I refused. I was like, no, I don't know how, but I'm not staying like this. So yeah, definitely the doubts, the self doubts have been the biggest thing for me to overcome along the way with every challenge and obstacle that I've had to face. Yeah.
And what did it mean to you to win your crown? Like, what does it mean to you now that you're an Australian fitness champion?
Look, I just don't even know if it's sunk in. You saying that, I'm like, oh yeah, here we go. I mean, to me, I actually journaled about it a few weeks beforehand, saying that it was a representation of all that I have been through, all that I have overcome, and everything that I have become, because that was when I was, journaling. I journaled like on the 19th of October, 2000 and what year is it? 24. I'll be crowned the fitness champion. Um, and again, the doubts came up. There was this level of certainty. There was also this big, loud voice of doubt that kept wanting to creep in, and I kept having to work to listen to that part that was afraid, but then also, you know, not listen to it. And yeah, I just wrote about the win being, it was just the icing on the cake, but what it represented to me was the journey, who I've become, what I've faced, the things people know nothing about, but I know, my journey, my story, being proud of myself, of who I've become, um, well before the crown. The crown was just that representation that I got, that outward acknowledgement, which obviously the competitor athlete in me is like, we want to win. But from the road that I've traveled, it wasn't, I want to win so that I can, you know, seek others' approval. To me, I'd won before I got up there. So the crown was just that, like, I have now, you know, made it to that point within myself, and I'm, winning the big thing. Um, yeah, it meant a lot to me because it felt like I'd made it to a point that I didn't think I could make it to, physically, mentally, emotionally, and success wise in terms of a title. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that so much. And just touching on journaling as well, you mentioned you were journaling leading up to the show. Is that something that you've done for a long time, and does it help with your mindset?
Yeah. So journaling, I think, is such a powerful tool, and probably something that's really underestimated. It slows the mind down. I find it really helpful in terms of just being able to get things out of my mind, or even just seeing things on paper that may be really chaotic in my head. And then you can almost just break it down, and um, there's no right or wrong in journaling. And I think when I first started, I was like, I got to get it right. Like, what am I meant to write about? What's the right question? Is there a right prompt? Am I meant to do it this way? Am I meant to do it that way? But I just removed all of that expectation. Sometimes I'll be writing everything I'm anxious about, and then trying to go, okay, you know, what's the solution to it, or how can I manage this? Or sometimes it'll just be asking myself questions, because then I'm planting that into my subconscious mind, and I might not get the answer right away, but it's still just, again, that curiosity, um, piece of exploration of self. Or sometimes it'll be really, um, like I mentioned, I'm the champion. There is a part of me that was felt so uncomfortable writing that, because it was like, but you're not, like, you're not, you haven't won anything. But then it's there was another part of me that was like, we need to tap into that, so journaling is really powerful. There's no right or wrong way to do it, and I think it can be a beautiful place for self-expression, for curiosity, for asking yourself questions, for gaining a deeper level of understanding within yourself, and also for talking to yourself in a different way. Like, leading up into the show as well, I'll do a um, journal before my training session, and it will be very much like tapping into the athlete part of me. I call her the beast, the savage beast. Like, I need to tap into that. How can I tap into that? So I would write different things that I need to embody to get me into that headspace, to shift me into that gear. That's not a place I need to live and operate in. But for your training part, like, I need to go there, you know? So I would write to myself in a way, as in like how I'm going to show up in the session. So yeah, different ways to journal.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that you say there's no right or wrong way as well, because I'm someone that's kind of like tried to dabble in journaling because you hear that it's so good, but then it's kind of overwhelming because you start
Yeah.
writing down questions, you're like, I don't have all the answers, and you get frustrated, and it's kind of hard to start. So, how do you recommend
Yeah.
journaling at the start for someone like me.
Oh, no, I love that you named that, because then just noticing that and getting curious, like you just said, you get frustrated, you don't know what to write. Like, get curious around that. Like, why do you get frustrated? Okay, cool, you don't know the answer to that right now. And being okay with not knowing an answer, because just the act of being curious is the process to uncovering answers. And I think that's a really hard thing for people to understand. So like, maybe you're getting frustrated because there's a part of you that wants to do something the right way, or has the need to get something right, so then you could go, oh, is that why I'm frustrated? And then maybe not. And I just sometimes will just write out the questions. You could even just start by saying, I don't know what the heck to write about. I think journaling's really silly. This is frustrating me. What is the point of this? I know this is good for me, so they say, but I don't see any benefit right now. But I'm just giving it a crack, So, and then there might be that little part of you that says, well, that was pointless. See, but then the very fact that you went to do it and you lent into something and that maybe hasn't been of any benefit, and heck, it might not ever be for you. Everyone's different. um, but yeah, I think first giving yourself the permission that it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be done a certain way, and merely getting curious, because I think that's beautiful that you could name. I get frustrated by it, like, what the heck.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love those tips. Definitely going to give it more of a crack and kind of, I think, develop that self awareness that we've obviously been talking about in your journey. So, yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I love giving a good journal prompt to someone just through an interaction. I'll just be like, oh, okay, this might be a good one. And
Yeah,
when people get stuck, I'm
absolutely.
pretty good with questions. So, um, yeah, but
Amazing. Moving on to the post show process, how has that gone for you after the show, obviously achieving such a massive milestone? Have you struggled at all post show?
I mean, I think in life, there's always an element of struggle. It just looks different and it feels different. So this post show, I people don't really know, because I guess I don't show it so much, but I struggle a lot with fatigue, like in and out of show. It doesn't matter if I've got more food. I would always see everyone go, oh, more food, more energy. Whereas I tend to really have pretty big struggles year round. Yes, obviously that is exacerbated when you are in the whole of a prep. um, so my biggest struggle coming out of this show was, I knew how many weeks I'd kind of pushed on well below my, like, capacity. I was just running off fumes, um, and having built this level of, you know, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Understanding myself, my mind, how it works, my nervous system, my body. I knew like a complete kind of collapse was coming. Um, and so at post show, it's been hard because I can't seem to get my energy back up even that much, like just a tiny bit. So, I have days where I kind of end up in bed, and I keep, pushing, and I try to manage my fatigue and moderate my work and different things like that. But then there's a frustration part in me that's like, gosh, this is like, I'm not where I want to be. I'm not doing the next thing. Um, that's been my really, really big challenge. Post show has been, yeah, I'm just really struggling with my capacity. Um,
I totally get that as well. Like personally, for me, post show, you know, you want to do so much more, I think, than your body allows you to, and you're expecting to kind of bounce back and have the food and have the energy, and it's frustrating sometimes, especially, for you dealing with fatigue long term, that you can't do everything that your mind wants to do. So how do you kind of talk to yourself, and how do you be kind to yourself in a time like that?
with great difficulty, and it is a continual practice. um, yeah, because I know how to push through hard times, painful times, times when I'm struggling. Like, that is something that I can do well. I can override my body. very well and keep pushing. And through my journey of bodybuilding, not just in recent years, but that's been something that I've had to learn is I know how to push. I know how to go beyond 100%. What's been hard for me to learn is how to rest, how to pull back, how to slow down, um, and how to manage that day to day, week to week. Um, so um, yeah, I even forgot the question. What you just asked me.
Yeah, it was just kind of how do you be kind to yourself, I guess, when you're pulling back? Like, what do you say to yourself to kind
Oh
of get
yeah.
through those hard times when you have to pull back and rest a little bit more?
Mm, I think something I've done is I like to name my different phases, and it helps kind of shift my perspective. So I kind of joke around that post show, I have a 6 week retirement phase. So obviously, I'm not retired, but I use that language because it's almost like this is a phase of, pulling back. And so if that's the purpose of the phase, then I always want to do my very best work, but understanding that the work looks different. So in my retirement, the priority is resting, which is a lot of resting. And so if I'm not doing that, then I'm actually not doing the job of this phase. The job right now is not to push. The job right now is not to, you know, go, go, go. The job is to recuperate and recharge. And that's something that probably only over the last few years I've gotten better at doing, because that's actually how I've managed to, bring a better package from last year to this year, was taking more time off, less training, more recovery. And so when I'm having those hard days, I'll be honest, like it is so hard to talk to yourself nicely. Like I really do struggle with it. But I try, you know, I try and try and try again, get curious and try again, notice what's coming up. Is this serving me? Is this helpful or harmful in how I'm talking to myself? It's not like it's all of a sudden been eliminated, you know? Sometimes I'm like, oh my goodness, like where did that come from? That is just not a good way to talk to myself. Um, but it's, yeah, practice. So I notice it, I get curious, and then is this helpful or harmful? And a good question is like, what do I need right now? Like, not what do I think I should be doing, which is a really hard one, is like, what does my mind truly need? What does my body truly need? What does my soul truly need? And I think that's where some of the battle can come in, because even this week, like I named, I had a day where I was in bed. And then the next day I was like, oh my gosh, I'm behind on work. And then what I really needed was just to go down by the water. But then I thought to myself, that inner dialogue, I can't do that. I don't have time to do that. But that's what I needed. And then I had to like feel that resistance and take myself down, dive in the ocean, then get back out. And then I did that and I felt so much better. And then I was able to, move on to those other things that, I needed to do. Um, so yeah, sometimes the hardest thing is doing what we don't want to do, but it's actually what we need, and then it will help us overall, mind, body, soul. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's such a good way to ask yourself what you need. And if you're still in the early stages of your journey and possibly it's the first, post show phase that you've done, or you're struggling with fatigue or something like that, I think a really good tip is to just actually keep your coach. And,
Mm,
if it's a good coach, they'll be able to guide you through that phase as well. And just having someone externally to be able to guide you and tell you what you need, because you might not necessarily know yet if you haven't been through those phases, or even when you're more experienced, like you still need someone to tell you sometimes, okay, you actually need a rest, or you need to
hmm
take a deload, or you need to, eat this or do this. Sometimes just having someone externally, I find, really helps throughout that phase.
Yeah, no, definitely having good supportive people who you feel safe around to talk about how you're feeling, and also people who will be honest, you know, tell you the truth, even if you don't want to hear it. They're the kind of people I like to have around me.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of coaching as well, and support, what made you get into coaching initially?
Well, after my ballet, I then became a visual merchandiser, and I remember I was dressing a mannequin and moving around some fixtures at the shop, And I was like, I don't want to be dressing a bloody mannequin. Like, this feels really just not like I'm stepping into my purpose, whatever that is. I was like, I just don't feel like that's doing it for me. I want to help people. I want to, have an impact, a greater impact. I'm like, I'm just dressing a mannequin to like tell people to, encourage people to just buy shit. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. Um, but I was like, this is not it. And I've gotten into, training by that stage, um, and I just thought I want to help people. I want to help women. I know what it feels like to have these struggles, and I want to provide a safe space for others to walk alongside them. I know full well that no one can change us. We have to do that. But I know the power of having coaches, providing steps, knowledge, and tools. And I also know the power that comes from simply having someone who can be there, support you, hold space, just simply listen, allow you to be you as you embark on your journey, whatever that looks like, your dream body, how you want to feel, how you want to look. And I thought I want to be that person to someone which I wish I had. I know I cannot take away anyone's pain, even though I wish I could. We all have to kind of go through our own pain to get our lessons and stuff. But if I can be a place to support women in building their dream physique and becoming the person that they want to become, that sounded way cooler to me than dressing a mannequin. And that is what made me go, this is why I've gone through everything I've gone through and overcome it and walked through it. And I want to be a living, breathing example of what is possible. And I think, knowledge is one thing, but going through things and experience is a whole nother thing. And it teaches you things that a book can never teach you. What it feels like being in certain struggles, having, the mind of a girl with an eating disorder. Like, you don't know what it's like in there, and I can never know what it's like for anyone else, but I can, you know have I guess a sort of an idea in many ways. So yeah, I got into it because I wanted to be the woman to someone else that I wish I had, and help in multiple ways, I guess. But yeah, just being that place, because the journey can be hard, but I think it can be a little bit easier when we've got someone who believes in you and can help you along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's one piece of advice that you could give to every new person starting out in the gym, what would it be?
Oh, there's so many things, but thinking back to when I first started, I think I was so worried about like what other people would think of me in the gym, or you look up to someone with a physique that maybe you think is unattainable, or they're intimidating or whatever. But the people who you probably might be a little bit scared of, like, they're generally the ones who want to see you win. So like, do your thing, just go in there, do it. Like, no one starts knowing what they're doing. Everyone starts making mistakes. Everyone does things wrong. um, it doesn't matter, because if you're trying and you're taking that next step, like, you're winning, you're miles ahead of other people. So my advice would be, as hard as it is, and everyone says it, like, no one's worrying about you, they're always worrying about themselves. Like, keep focusing on you in that process, and remember that, so maybe the people who you might feel intimidated by it, they probably actually want you to win. Ask for help. Ask for help. Like, yeah, definitely seek help. Go for it. You'll be amazed at what you can achieve step by step, day by day, week by week. Like, blow your own mind. Whatever it is that you want, hold on to that and take those steps. So yeah, definitely don't give up on yourself.
I love that. And I love what you say about, people in the gym with your dream physique as well, because people might look at us, these days and be scared of us in the gym, or, think that it's so unattainable
Yeah,
what we've achieved. But like you said, like everyone starts somewhere, like everyone's the new person in the gym once. So you don't need to be scared of people who are more experienced than you or anything like that, because like you said, like we're normally the biggest cheerleaders.
Yeah, absolutely. Like someone asked me, "Oh, do you see people in the gym?" And then you're like, "Oh my God, that's terrible," or "Oh, you know," and I'm like, "No, I I don't because I want everyone to win. I I would love to help make it better, or you know, if they came to ask me, you know, do a technique or something, but it's like I want everyone to win. But I guess like, you know, yeah, like you said as well, it can be a little bit scary. I know I was. I remember when I first saw Hattie and I was like, you know, but she, again, using that as an example, I was intimidated and like, oh my goodness. But she wanted to see me win. And you know, and led by example in that regard. And I want to see other people win in the gym. So yeah, it's it's funny, but it's cool.
Yeah, I love that. And can you share some of the strategies that help you maintain such high levels of consistency?
Mm, I think first defining consistency is an interesting thing. You know, everyone might have their different definition of what consistency looks like. Um, but I think for me is I have consistently shown up and consistently never given up and consistently tried again because my journey has had many phases and stages of where sometimes I didn't go to the gym as much, or I was really unwell and then I had quite a lot of time off the gym, or, you know, up roller coaster with navigating my relationship with food in the earlier years. And so if you look at it from consistently meaning the same thing over and over, well, it wasn't at all. The only thing that was consistent was trying again, never giving up. Um, and then slowly developing the habit of learning how to be consistent, and also I say pivoting. Like I've learned how to pivot consistently, going, okay, today's 100%, being okay with, you know, some days your 100% is going to be like another day's 50%, but depending, it's 100%. And so knowing how to kind of go with the seasons of life and making the adjustments and pivots that are necessary, I think allows you to be consistent over the long haul, um, and keep making progress, even if that progress looks a little bit different in each phase. Um, so, yeah, it's making those non negotiables and pivoting accordingly, day to day, week to week, season to season, whether that be a different season of life when you've got higher stress, higher work demand, rather than just going, okay, I don't have time for the gym. Like, what is the bare minimum that I can do, that I can fit in? Okay, this is the phase that I'm in, cut, deficit, maintenance, build. What are the requirements of me? Or how can I make this, you know, easier on myself to manage my food, or whatever it is looking for the current season of life or season of your physique, um, and looking at the non-negotiables and the bare minimums, and then being okay with it actually looking different and learning how to pivot with the season. That is how I truly believe I have been able to consistently make change internally and externally. And that is really my strategy and my formula ongoing. Is like every day is 100%, but it just looks different. And
Yes, that is so important to understand. And like you said, pivoting with the different seasons and recognizing that there are different seasons, because you can't just go, have that dial turned up to 120% all the time like you might in prep. Like you're not going to make any progress. So I love that you say, pivoting with each of the seasons. That is so, so important. And identifying that there are different seasons, obviously.
yeah, I definitely think that is my strategy to consistency.
Yeah, love that. And do you have any goals going forward for competing? Like, what are your plans for next shows and goals overall in the sport?
Good question. Right now, I'm so in my retirement of rest, recovery, recharge phase that I haven't fully thought about it, because my process also doesn't change whether or not I get on stage again or not, but I will. Um, you know, it's still like this is a recovery phase, then it'll be, you know, and working on my structural imbalances and, you know, things that I neglected in prep to make me stronger and better, and then it'll be what areas of my physique do I want to improve upon. So the process doesn't really change, and that's why I say prep for life. If you prep for life, then you just insert the stage. If you prep for the stage, then, well, you're not building the the resources within you that you kind of need to, again, have that consistency and longevity. But I love competing. There isn't a plan yet in place, but I have an idea in the back of my head about when I'll do my next show. The big question is going to be, which category do I go in? Because this year I went in two. And that will kind of, depending on my feedback, will, um, and I guess where I feel I want to go within my physique, that'll potentially, dictate some of these improvement season, goals. But yeah, right now, full recovery mode, and then wait for my feedback. But I'll announce it when I know for sure.
Stay tuned. Well, I'm so excited to see, one, what shows you end up doing, and two, what category you end up going into. So, yeah,
Yeah.
stay tuned, everyone.
Yeah, we'll see.
And finally, what advice would you give to someone just starting out in bodybuilding, especially if they're struggling with their own personal challenges or self doubt?
Mm. I say we've got to, it sounds weird, but keep struggling. Like, get curious about it and know what you want, know why you want it. I like to think about our whys. We go deeper and deeper, figuring out really why we want something and having that overarching big, big goal. And then coming back to the small goals, I would say, know why you're doing it, who you're doing it for. Like, is this really for you or is it for somebody else? What do you want to get out of it? What do you want to learn about yourself from it? Who do you want to become in the process? Um, because I think if you're just doing it to get on stage, without knowing what's involved, or if your relationship's a bit rocky with food in your body, it's just going to expose them, which again, it will be a gift, but it'll be a struggle. And it's just the way that you choose to look at it. So I think go for it. Go for it. Go all in. Face your struggles. Face your fears. Get curious around it, like I've said. Don't give up on yourself. Know what you want. Know why you want it, and put in the work, because you have to show up. And when those doubts come, it's about not, they're not going to go away. The only way to destroy a doubt is to disprove the doubt. And we disprove it through our actions, because then those actions are going to create a different result, which is going to give us, a new evidence. So, yeah, really honing in on where the doubts are from and then cultivating that belief and disproving the doubts.
Yes, absolutely. I could not have said that better myself. So thank you so much for coming on. I've absolutely loved this chat. I'll link your socials below so that people can follow along on your journey, see what
Yeah.
you're doing next, get some motivation as well. I absolutely love your broadcast channel. So anyone not
Oh,
already in
cool.
there, go and join.
That's good to know. I was like thinking yesterday, I wonder if what I should be writing in this, or what do people do in these things? So thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's like so motivational and just kind of, you can tell it's kind of just straight from your brain, I guess. It's like a little insight into your brain, which is really cool. And I love the way that it works. So,
Oh,
yeah,
thank
keep
you.
sharing in there.
Oh, I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
And yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I've absolutely loved this chat.
Me too. Thank you for having me.